You passed your luck check. It's
The No Class Podcast.
with your hosts, Eddie.
And Matt. Do you know how we start this?
That is how we start this.
That's true. It's true.
That's it. That's the opening lines.
That's right. And then...
And then I have to ask you something to start it.
Exactly. Precisely.
And then the long con.
Yeah. Right. Well, Long Con Spring, we've got quite a few games posted, but some empty seats. Some empty seats. A few empty seats.
On Sunday.
Sunday doesn't have a lot of games posted. Saturday's got all the games posted with hardly any players. The Sunday games are pretty
But the
full.
tickets are sold out.
That's
or
true.
the badges are
The
sold
badges
out,
are
to
sold
use their
out.
terminology.
Yeah. Needless to say, people need to either get in there and pick their games.
Typically.
Yeah, but that's nothing new. Yeah, right. But I'm excited about that. It's going to be fun. It'll be good to see some of our friends we haven't seen in a while who will be running and playing games.
It'll even be fun to see our friends that we have seen in a while.
There's that, too.
Just because you're a local and we see you all the time, we still love you.
Absolutely. I'm tickled Ron's going to be playing in one of my games and as a player as well in 3 other ones, so that's kind of cool.
He's a player in one of your games?
Yeah, well, I'm only running, I think, 1 game, and he's a player in that game.
Okay, I was like,
Yeah.
he'd be a player in one of my games and 3 other of my games. I
Well,
was like, wait a minute.
he's a fellow player, as in I will be playing more than likely, unless we're going to do something crazy on Sunday or whatever.
Right now, I am running 1 and playing none.
Yeah. I've been asked to play in Gary's games, and I've kind of hemmed and hawed. He doesn't listen to this, so he won't never know. But
He
yeah,
He always asks me that.
that's right.
Silver Bullet, folks, go check it out.
Exactly. It's good stuff.
Heather's a big Stephen King fan. Does she like the Silver Bullet? Has she seen it?
I'm not entirely sure. It's probably one of those ones that she saw back in the day and needs to watch it again.
Yeah, you need to watch it again. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Absolutely. Stephen King's good work, and it's got, what's his name? And one of the better roles, is, even though a minor part, from old Busey. Busey's the lovable uncle,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So.
And, of course, you've got to have at least one of the Coreys in there to be an 80s movie.
Exactly, yeah. Which that's the one that died, right? Drug overdose?
I think it's the other one.
Feldman's still alive, which is probably the ones that people wished would have overdosed or something. But this is, Corey Haim is in that one. And he, I believe he overdosed at some point, maybe in the 90s or early aughts. I can't remember, but yeah.
For some reason, somehow I've lost track of the Coreys.
Well, you know, I mean,
Which
God
one was
bless.
the one that hung out with Michael Jackson?
That's one who's still alive and is very
Really?
much an odd duck. Go figure, he hung out with Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Didn't they have a reality show for 5 minutes too? Something like that?
Yeah, well, you know, what was it? What's the channel that has like,
History Channel.
yeah, probably, which is hot because it's so historical, but they've,
The Learning Channel?
yeah, it's sad anymore. There's no history and no learning on those channels. But God, I can't remember it now, but the show was actually decent the first few seasons. It's called like the B somethings or whatever, but they were all those kind of B actors or people that were extra characters on a show, and they had their
The B Life
15
or
minute-
something?
Yeah, exactly, or something. The Surreal Life.
Oh,
They called it
okay.
the Surreal Life, but what it really was it was like, who is this person? Oh yeah, you know, whatever. Like who was the one guy who played like Joey or something on Full House? He was on one of the first few seasons. What's hilarious was old Ron Jeremy was on one season, the same season as Tammy Faye Baker, which they end up being chummy, which was kind of funny. You know?
Vince Neil was on one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was on the season before that one. So during that season, he invited them to a nudist colony he was friendly with. Tammy Faye wouldn't go on principle, you know. So anyway, yeah, it's interesting. And she died of cancer not long after that. Yeah, we went down the rabbit hole on that one.
Yeah, I'd say you brought down the room, but not really on that one.
Not really, yeah. I mean, you know. Yeah. I always loved the T-shirt that showed a bunch of smeared makeup, and it'd be like, I ran into Tammy Faye at the mall. You know, no one will get that reference. But for those of you that do, you're welcome, you know.
Well, I went down the rabbit hole the other day by listening to Ozzy Osbourne's Miracle Man.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
That was Stewart, right?
Well,
Jimmy
Swaggart.
Swaggart,
Yeah.
that's it.
I have sinned against you. I can remember him coming out the first of the 2 or 3 times he got caught going, I have sinned against you.
That's how you end your career right there.
But the Lord has forgiven me. Yeah, well, he might have, but after the third time you did it, we're all kind of done of you. But that's like what's weird is God bless these people keep themselves out there. Tammy Faye's husband, Jim Baker, he was, because he got caught, messing around with his secretary and all that, and that brought down his evangelical empire. He has some streaming internet show or something now. And I watched part of an episode because it was so absolutely bizarre and surreal.
He's still alive?
Yeah. And he's got this show with these other kook birds, like backing him up. And the crap they're talking about is just insane. And it makes me kind of mad, though, because they were like, you need your Holocaust survival bucket. And if you'll send us $100, we'll send you your genuine Holocaust survival. Because any day now, Holocaust is coming and you need your special bucket. And you're like, well, what's in the bucket and what?
That's why you got to pay the $100.
Exactly.
For your apocalypse survival kit.
Probably a little leaflet of special Jim Baker prayers or something that'll protect you in the Holocaust. But anyway, the end times. Yeah, it's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Just like the beginning of this podcast.
Is this weirder than the time we started talking about bread and cheese and bowel movements or something? I'm trying to remember that one. We went down the rabbit hole on that one. Anyway.
That's what the listeners tune in for.
Exactly. Oh, man.
Nonsense.
Corn and peanuts. But anyway.
So anyway, there's a Long Con Spring.
Absolutely. Long Con Spring. Be there. Come check it out. Even if you don't have a ticket, come check it out. Come look. Come get you a boiga. One of them good boigas.
NTRPG is right around the corner.
Yeah, I'm getting excited about that.
Burgers at the Dragon's Nest.
That too.
And so if you are going to NTRPG, if you're listening to this about the time it gets published, get ready for your signups on the 15th of April.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, then sorry, this will be the reminder that you missed it, maybe. Where you're like,
man, I always miss out on that. But see, it's not at midnight anymore. Now it's at...
I think it's supposed to be 5.
5 in the afternoon, we think. That's the one thing they broke away from tradition because, there's that.
All right. Well, here we are on episode 81.
Wow. Who would have thunk it?
Nobody. We've got to get to 100 so we can quit.
Is that what it takes if we can quit this?
Yes.
All right, let's get cracking.
We don't have a mandate from the people to keep going. So,
exactly.
Or to end it. So
I think they might get excited if they thought we were going to end it,
Watch the listenership go up.
Exactly.
But we're moving on to the world of video anyway. So
heck yeah. So last Tuesday, we were on the Goodman Games channel live, and you can watch the recording of it on Twitch and hopefully on YouTube soon.
Yeah, eventually it'll hit YouTube's.
Yeah.
All right, now we get into the standard pop culture goodies.
Here we go.
Books.
Okay. As y'all know, if you pay attention, I'm rereading some Michael Moorcock. These are actually not rereads. I never read these back in the day, but they're the Hawk Moon books. And there's the 4 books that are like the Ruin Staff. Because I've read Michael Moorcock stuff through the years, mostly like the Elric stuff and a little bit of Corum. But I'd never read the Hawk Moon books. But anyway, I'm on the 4th book now, which like this is called the Ruin Staff series. There's like 4 of them, and the 4th one is called like the Ruin Staff. And so far, so good. I've really enjoyed it.
How did his staff get ruined?
That's a good question. But it's covered in runes, I imagine, so that's it. Oh, and then otherwise, reading-wise, it's a funny thing. I was out and about, and I saw the book. It's like a book someone did about the Chicken Ranch. You were talking about the movie a while back, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Someone did a book about, the story of how it started, how all that stuff happened. And on a goof, I bought that. I haven't read it yet, but I intend to. It's interesting. It's Texas lore and history.
Hopefully they have some chicken recipes in there too.
That'd be delicious. You been reading any comics or books?
I'm not allowed to.
Oh my.
I'm not allowed to say. I did finish off Claymore.
Okay, cool.
So if you get a chance, it's on Hulu. You can check out that series. It's good. And then it's a anime, and then there's a manga as well.
Oh, okay. So you were saying, wait a minute, Hulu, that's visual watching or something.
Yeah.
So
you can watch the cartoon, the animated
that's
version.
based off the manga.
Yeah, and it's very much alike. but it goes maybe halfway through the books. So it was like, we're doing one season of this show, so we can tell you this much of the story, and then we're going to pop an ending on it. But then for the books, it just goes on another, I don't know, 50 chapters or something.
So can you give us like a quick, what would be synopsis? I mean, just what's the theme? What's it about?
Yes, I can.
Okay, that's awesome.
Oh, did you want me to?
Please
Oh, okay.
elaborate.
I thought that was just a yes or no. I think we might have talked about it a little bit before, but since it's Japanese, they have their demons, which aren't really necessarily like from hell.
Like Oni,
It's just monsters, basically.
Yeah.
So there are these monsters that pop up randomly in the world, and at like the low level, they can look like people. And then they eat people. So there'll like be one in the village eating people. And then your village elder or whatever has to call the claymores.
Kind of like, it sounds like Witcher.
Yeah, like a lot of, there's a ton of those. Or I'm trying to think what it is, like all the Western stuff, like have gun, will travel. Like, have you got a problem in town? Or the A-team now, right? Is there a problem that you can't solve? Call in the experts if you're lucky enough. You'll find them. So that's how that is. So you call one of those claymores in, and they're all female. Because of this, again, back to the Witcher, the process that turns them from just like, you're a regular human into the superhuman fighting machine. Only women can handle it. Which I'm trying to think in the Witcher, if that's only men.
Yeah.
I guess Siri has kind of split the difference, but I guess somebody who's read those novels could fill us in.
Yeah.
But anyway, for the claymores, it has to be a lady. And, of course, they carry big claymore swords because you need something that massive to take on these demons. So that is the nickel version of it.
Okay.
But they have, this is not too spoilerific. You find it out pretty fast. The way they're made, superhuman, is they're basically half demon.
Oh, wow, themselves.
They put demon material into them.
Oh, wow.
To turn them into half and half. And eventually, they will release so much of that demonic energy, the monster energy, that they will turn themselves.
So,
they will become what they fight.
Yeah, they become the very thing that they fight against. Wow.
Except for when they do it, they're usually super badass.
Yeah, of course.
They're not the garden variety ones.
Yeah.
So they have, in the hilt of their swords, they have black cards. So when they feel their time getting close, they'll send it to like one of their good friends or something and be like, come kill me.
Yeah.
The end is drawing near.
Wow. That's kind of neat. That's,
yeah.
I gotta
So
say,
that's a cool
that's pretty
concept.
neat. That's a neat idea. That's a neat concept. Cool.
But if you like seeing demons getting slayed and all these, so many weird, twisted creations that they make because the Japanese and Eastern style is just a lot different with that.
Sure.
So you see some really cool, interesting ideas that way,
Well,
too.
the old DMG, God, I love that book. There's so much good material packed into that book. It used to have some tables in the back for like producing a random demon, whatever, where you could roll it up and like it's got horns and two heads and it's blue and it's got claws and whatever, something, and it spits acid. And it's that way, like every demon would be unique or different or something. So that's neat, not samey. Yeah, or just, oh, look, it's the typical horn thing coming at you with hooves. No, it's something that's crawling along the wall and has a million eyes or something, tentacles. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, there's one that's basically like a saw blade.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, how are you going to fight that?
Yeah.
Where it can just spin and destroy everything. So
yeah, that's tough.
It's interesting designs and new ideas for you to steal for your adventures.
Exactly.
All right, any other books?
No.
How about TV?
TV, this is kind of funny, but last night I come downstairs and Heather loves her cooking shows. She's watching, she said, hey, guess what's on Tubi? She's watching The Man Show. And laughing. It's, and I'm like, it was funny to watch Jimmy Kimmel when he was second banana to Adam Carolla and all this playful, joking, misogyny, and to see him now being this big, virtue signaling, whatever, on ABC. It's hilarious.
So was she just watching the girls on trampolines?
That was me at the end, but now I was laughing. I come in, I was like, are you shitting me? And she's like, it's funny, and it's on Tubi. So
you got any other TV?
No, that's pretty much it for TV.
Me too.
Wow. You're a big TV guy.
Well, I have been rewatching some of Breaking Bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? The other day I thought about that. You and me are way on a wavelength way too often. That's concerning. We need to spend more time apart, I think, or something.
Well, the last season of Better Call Saul, I think, is coming out the 16th or the 18th on Netflix. Finally.
Yep.
So I think I was reading one of those, what's the best TV shows on Reddit? Because they've had a million of those lately. What's the best show? What had the best ending? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I was like, Breaking Bad's not getting enough appreciation.
Yeah.
Because people are like, Sopranos, which was good, but it wasn't good all the way through.
No. And I tell you that, like, I've watched Saw and Dribs and Drabs, and it was so good when I did, but I'm like, no. I should just wait till it's done. It's done now. I can binge it. So I don't know if Heather's going to like it. If not, I'll just watch it on my own. But I got to check out Saw, because what I have watched in the past here and there was definitely on par. I won't say maybe not Breaking Bad level, but it's pretty good.
Well, just because it's more recent now, a lot of people are like, it's even better.
I wouldn't say that. That's a bold statement. It's good, but I don't think it's better than Breaking Bad. There was a certain fortunate alignment of the planets for Breaking Bad. It's the perfect actors for the roles, who acted really well. Great writing, great acting. I mean, that made the career of that one guy who played the Chicken Brothers. Who was, that I can't think of his name. But that guy's done so many things since then. Yeah, that guy's a brilliant actor, and he was phenomenal. He's great in everything he's in. Anyway, and of course you loved Mike, and his character, and you hate to see how he went, but that's par for the course,
What is that? Spoilers for a 10-year-old show or whatever?
But I didn't say anything. I just said, you hate to see.
But I will say, if you're doing a rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff where you're like, where Tuco takes them out into the desert, it's like, you know how it's going to resolve. So it loses some of that suspense. It was still good, but it's not, you can't go back and start biting your nails again and be like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah. Because, and even, I mean, honestly, when I started watching it, you said, man, I'm so envious of you. You're watching it just as they're going into the last season. You're not going to have to wait through all those cliffhanger endings and wait to see what happens when the season joins back up or whatever. It's nice to be able, because there's times where like, I'll watch one more, and then it's that cliffhanger and you're like, bullshit, I gotta see what happened. But I like you said back in the day, anyone who hasn't watched it yet, go watch it. And like Eddie said to me, at what point do you go, yeah, screw you, Walt? Walt, like at a certain point, and that's why it's, I guess, Breaking Bad is like, but at what point do you go, yeah, because initially you're like, what, Walt's a likable guy. He's not bad. But there's a certain point, if you're the person who never, ever turns on Walt, I'm kind of like, whoa, you kind of concern me. But there's a point where you go, yeah, Walt's a scumbag. I'm not rooting for Walt anymore. Yeah. And so it was funny. Eddie was like, when was your point of like,
what's your breaking point?
Yeah. So anyway, but no, it's a great series. Good call.
All right. So how about some movies?
Ironically enough, the other night, came home from work, really kind of tired, had about an hour and a half to kill, flipped over to Netflix, and what popped up as like one of the suggestions was Smokey and the Bandit.
Mine too. And I don't know if they're giving that to everybody or just me and you.
Or just, I think maybe right now it's trending in the U.S. or something. But I broke down and watched it. It's a classic,
It is. Even the second one.
Yeah. In fact, Heather's like, that was so much fun. We ought to watch the second one.
But I'm trying to think about
Dom DeLuise in that one with the baby elephant and stuff.
Yeah, but there's a third one as well, right? That we don't speak of.
Or else I don't know. But then again, there's even Cannonball Run. If you like watching him on a darn racing down the road, if you and making wisecracks, you've got if you can't.
It's got Jackie Chan.
Exactly. I got a bunch of people in the Cannonball Run.
Roger
Moore, Jack Elam. That used to be in westerns. Had that one wandering eye. Barbara Box in it. Just a cavalcade of stars.
Yeah, especially 80s stars.
Yeah. Dean Martin makes, I think, an appearance in one of them.
Yeah, him and Sammy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's like, what? Yeah,
it's Wacky Racers, the movie.
Yeah. Or like, the way back when they did that movie, it's a mad world, and it had a lot of, at that time, people that were movie stars and a lot of comedians and stuff were in it.
And again, remember to take your Geritol shot.
Yeah, if you get the mad world reference. but that's a neat movie. Okay, but yeah, so I watched Smoking the Bandit. What about you? Movies?
Nope.
Okay.
That's all TV show time.
All right.
Video games.
Video games.
You've been playing the FO76.
A little bit. I've done some dailies here and there. Just after work, I got like an hour before I go to bed. I'll try to do a few dailies. I've actually done a few of the new, what would you call them, things where you show up and like there's this wave of monsters and a big bad and all that at the end. Done a couple of those that they've introduced since I'd quit playing. A couple of them were fun. I kind of enjoyed it.
I've played a little bit of Castlevania Rondo of Blood. That's one of those, like, I got 5 minutes to kill. I'll boot this up and beat a level and go about my business. And I'm trying to think what else I played a little bit of. Oh, Overcooked. That one's a lot of fun. But you got to have the right... If you're one of those people that cannot stand up under pressure, like if the countdown starts coming and it's like, beep, 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 you're running out of time. That game's not for you. But it is about cooking.
And go figure, yeah.
And it's basically like you're chefs in the kitchen as a team. And it's like, you do this and I'll do that. And kind of distributing the work and keeping things a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I work on the sauce. You chop the meat, whatever, or something.
So my wife cannot play that at all.
I was waiting to see. It sounds like a team game, so you must be playing it with Jen.
No. We've already determined, we've probably talked about this on a podcast in the past, she cannot handle anything under pressure.
She's in good company. I could see Heather having a nervous breakdown trying to play something like that. So again, yeah, I mean,
All right, so that's what a little bit of video games that I've got in.
All right.
Now the thing is, our topic. And once again, Matt sets it up brilliantly. Hey, you got any ideas for a topic? Not really. Well, Parley. I'm like, we're going to talk about what the topic, we're going to go back and forth and try and figure out a topic. And he's like, no, the topic is parlaying.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm like, that should be great. This should be our finest episode.
You say that, but well, like last time, I think people enjoyed the dragons ones. And again, that was me. I had a little potato water on board and I was like, dragons. And you were like, okay.
This is the best episode ever.
This is a great idea. So
Parley. Did you go back and listen to that episode?
No, I did not.
Wow, you have really let all the listeners down.
Well, I mean, I don't.
But I think that was a good episode.
No, I think it was. Actually, Heather came and said, "Oh, I thought that was great. One of y'all's best." So there you go.
There you go. Oh, and I'll butt in with this too. I was going back and looking at our little private Facebook group for topics. Like, all these times this comes up and we go, what should we do? What should we do? So we've got lists of topics.
Yeah.
So I'm searching it out. And Matt had originally said for this one, GM burnout.
Yeah.
And I go back and look and I'm like, yeah, we did that as episode 36. But it also pops up quite a few times as suggestions.
Well, what can I say? But
I'm trying to tell us something, Matt.
Right. But because GM burnout is a thing. Well, I mean, you look at.
Yeah, but is it a thing you're experiencing is what the listeners want to know.
But while I was talking, a good example, our buddy Laurelyn, I never heard her complain because she's a sweetheart. And I think she handled it really well. But at one point, like she got stuck DMing every time and she was running for tables of 10 people. And that just comes down to nobody else was willing to step up. And it's really, I'm going to put it out there. And some people might be listening and be like, and be butthurt, but it's kind of selfish that no one ever thought to go, I bet Lauren liked to play, or, hey, why don't I break off and maybe run a table? And it's not like you get stuck doing it every time, but for not one person at that table to step up or help out, that's kind of poopy, and that's how GMs get burned out,
This is where we are probably lucky to not have the video podcast. If you see the look on my face, the look of utter disgust for that. Yeah. You're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah. I mean, and so don't get me wrong. There's some people on the table that they're good people and I like them. Shake their hand, love gaming with them. Good people. Yeah. I break bread with them, whatever. But I'm shaking my finger of shame at you because you got to figure eventually Lauren quit doing it. And that's why she burned out. I guarantee you. And, and that people are apathetic to that fact. Well, I got my game in while I could, and when people talk about nowadays, like no one wants to DM. Well, there's things like this. The people that I kind of like DMing, but then all of a sudden they're like, ugh, I'm stuck now. I'm like a forever DM. No one else is stepping up or helping out. One of the best things when I talk about, you heard me talk about Living Greyhawk through the years, when I first was introduced to it, the first thing I thought of how brilliant, you're not going to have that DM burnout because everybody took a turn running. Now, there were some people that ended up running more than others because people that enjoyed running and it was more in their wheelhouse. But ultimately, that's how that campaign went as long as it did because it's not one person having to run it all the time.
Yeah, but when we brought up that for our club, that immediately got shot down.
Well,
it was
sure.
like, I won't be coming anymore. It's
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah,
then.
there are people that, like, oh, you're going to want me to run? I'm out. It's like, wow, you would quit rather than, good Lord, But anyway, but that's not our topic. We're going on about, but that's where and he didn't mention this, but I did say, haven't we done GM burnout? And you were like, yeah, I think we have. And then you went and saw and went, yeah, we've absolutely done that. So I thought I remember us doing it, but I wasn't sure.
And it might be 37. I know it's Give Me a Break is the title.
Yeah. So by all means, it's number 37 if you're interested in what to do about GM burnout. And this is where players can help the game master and blah, blah, blah. But what Parley is our topic today. So, okay, do you remember the very first game we put at the very first North Texas?
Yes.
Of course you do. It was?
With Stan Shin.
That's right.
But I'm guessing, was it like first edition?
See, I don't know if it was BX first edition, Labyrinth Lord, but it was in that.
Something OSR.
Yeah, something definitely for a very appropriate North Texas. And I can't speak for Eddie, I had a phenomenal time. I had a lot of fun. Yeah, we both did. We've talked about it many times.
Which that was a walk-up game. Like we have praised many times, just the virtue of going up. Maybe I should do that this year, but we'll see.
That might be a thing. One of my many fond memories from our first trip to North Texas RPG Con was our first game. It was Stan Shin, again, nice guy who runs a great game. We met some orcs and we did murder hobo them. I remember in the game. I remember two of our party mates were peeved that we wouldn't let them go psycho. We gambled and we drank with the orcs. How cool is that? So how did we get here?
Oh, because my character went up and talked to him.
Yeah, exactly. This was the thing in old school fantasy RPGs when we cut our teeth. From 3rd edition on, there was a shift to role-playing becoming more miniatures and maps, a tactical game over theater of the mind. More of a mentality that everything's a walking experience point. Evil humanoids that are kill on sight, and all PCs are kill on sight by the monsters. And so I was trying to decide, like, well, how do we get here? Because I can remember when I was a kid in old school gaming, you might parlay with the monster. Not everything was going to instantly kill you. You know what I mean?
Okay, so here's the old men reminisce about when D&D was correct and proper in the world.
Yeah, well, I mean.
Which, yeah, that's sarcastic. I mean,
yeah,
the game you play. But so look back with these ancient eyes, you go, we weren't as murder hobo-y. We would talk to stuff more.
We did. I did. I remember the games I ran and played.
And everything, races were evil. Certain races were evil.
But
now they're not.
Yeah. But yeah.
So you would think.
Yeah.
Where it's like, remember, not all races are evil. Just because it's an orc doesn't mean it's an evil orc. Wouldn't you be more inclined nowadays
and
to
that's
talk?
why I thought the paradox when I was writing this. I thought, what a paradox. They keep pushing this. Now, not all the orcs and dark elves are evil, but yet, if you see one, they're going to run at you bloodthirstily and try to kill you, and you should kill them. But now remember, they're not necessarily evil. So that's what I like was back in the day, orcs were evil, dark elves were evil, but I can remember playing Adventure where it's like, if you didn't want to just blindly attack a pack of dark elves, and they were smart enough and wanted to go, well, some of their gear's glowing, these guys look pretty well equipped, they have a certain demeanor, maybe we'll try to parlay first, But given you as the GM, and that's, I'll say like a lot of things became more and more mechanical as we went along. And some people, it's not their real gaming strength, like something like Parley. It does take a certain degree of acumen. It's something that anybody, I'm saying this first, anybody can do it. But some people are going to be innately better than other people. But it's like anything, it's a skill you can develop. Would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay. And so, and like one thing is you don't have to do the silly voices. You're not Matt Mercer. So, I mean, it's goblins or we had a fun time with that the other night, by the way. I think afterwards me and Heather were laughing going, Anyway.
Ghosts of Mars, folks.
Yeah. But there was a thing in old school fantasy RPGs where we cut our teeth. I already said all that. Not every demi-human needs to be a psycho murderer. The orcs worked for Saruman and fought alongside some human troops that were equally evil. So there's humans that are evil or bandits, but bandits used to go, hey, your money or your life. You have a chance to parlay. You might try to intimidate the bandits or let them know how badass you are or something.
Or talk them up.
Yeah.
My money and my life.
Exactly. It's like, what kind of chump bandit gives me an option? All right, you know, but
help them improve their business model.
Exactly. But ultimately, if there's, if back in the old Living Greyhawk days, in the realms of IUs, the bandit kingdoms, they use hobgoblins because they're a little more militaristic and a little more regimented or whatever. Those were like guards inside town, you know, whatever, where they could work a little better with humans. And orcs were a little too feral and barbaric. They would still use them as like enforcers out in the countryside. So you might be traveling along, and if you ran across a group of orcs, they'd be like papers. They weren't just like, humans kill. No, they were working for IUs. They were somewhat like, we've got a job or whatever, you know, ooh la la. And they would come up, and there would be one that probably knew some decent English. Give me your papers. And if
so they wouldn't be an evil race if they had more employment opportunities.
Exactly. Ha ha. But no, but they would ask for your papers or something. If you didn't have them, you might get beat and flogged. And you used to have an AR addendum sheet you would get called whip scars, where like your character would lose so many time units where you were working in the silver mines and where you got whipped and beat, and then your character was released back into play, but you lost so much play time where you were supposed to have been in the mines, and you'd lose like the majority of your gear or something like that. But at least your character's still playable, and now you had that whip scars AR or whatever. So in certain instances, if they saw those scars, they might be like, oh, you were a slave in the silver mines. Is that an escape slave? You know, and there's all that whole level of, it was an interesting aspect of
But LG was so tied to your gear. If you lost your gear, that was fate worse than death, right?
Exactly. That's what was tough about that. So you definitely didn't want to get, you know, captured or whatever. But sometimes
that's one way to take care of mouthy NPCs.
Yeah.
Or PCs, should I say?
I knew what you meant. But anyway, Greyhawk Bandit Kingdoms, the evil ruling class employed hobgoblins, like I said, in cities alongside evil humans as guards, etc. Orcs in the countryside as enforcement there. So here's the thing is, so as you can see, when your players are playing the game, well, another thing we talked about before, old school gaming, sometimes you would have what I guess the nomenclature, I don't know what it is these days, but an untiered encounter, i.e. you've thrown something at the players they really shouldn't fight. And I love the story back in the LG days. Thank goodness I wasn't on this table, but a party met like a Freedy Lord, and this was like an adventure for characters level like 2 to 4. So metagaming wise, you know, you're not meant to fight an Elder, a Freedy Lord or something, right? At any level probably, but definitely not 2nd to 4th. So everyone's genuflecting and crawling on the floor and kissing his boots and groveling. And one player thumbs his nose and goes, kiss my ass or whatever. And the Free Lord just waved his hand, and like this field of fire erupted and just incinerated a lot of them, like TPK or whatever. And they were so mad at that guy. And he's like, well, they wouldn't throw something at us we're not meant to fight. And it's like, they're going, no, they absolutely will and did, you dumbass, you know. And so all these guys lost their characters because of this one dumbass.
So maybe they should just call that intelligence checks.
Right. But what I'm getting at is that was an instance where, yeah, you're supposed to parlay. You're supposed to, you know, talk with it. And so like, you're like, well, I want to throw a giant at my characters, but they're only whatever level. Well, given the thing where they hear the thumping of the boots ahead of time and they have time to hide, and then hide from the thing and have it be fairly oblivious. They make some rolls to scare them behind the screen. And then they can decide if they want to either evade it, dumb enough to attack it, which that's on them because they didn't have to attack it, or they might parlay with it. And who knows? If it's a big dumb giant, they might bamboozle it or flim-flam it or who knows what. And what a cool story is that to tell. You still kind of beat the giant. I might even give them some experience points because not full value, but part of it because you interacted with the giant and walked and lived or whatever, you know. I mean, what if you even had just seen a big pack of orcs that you were like, man, you know, we need to fight them, but there's too many of them. We'll bamboozle this giant into attacking the orcs and maybe mop up whoever's left afterwards or something. I mean, so see how there's some really neat interaction. See how cool that is. I mean, wow, you know, so that's the benefit of parlaying, you know.
Yeah, I'd be more inclined to give them the full XP value if it accomplished something too. Like, get the giant to stop attacking this town. If you don't kill him, you just talk him into it somehow. That's fine. You accomplished your mission. Here's the XP.
Yeah, no, definitely. If you accomplish the mission by hook or by crook, you know. So, you know, when deciding, like, okay, in a parlay, so let's say in our instance, the giant or a pack of orcs or whatever, like, where should you come from as far as them talking, to the players? It's like, how competent are the bad guys? How loyal are they to their leaders? These things have bearing. So you might either have notes of this ahead of time, or in the moment think of these things. Go, well, let me roll a dice. Like 1, they're super loyal. 6, they're incredibly unloyal, or whatever. And that might show you where they might come from. Where like, here comes a party that looks pretty well equipped. The orcs have equal number or barely outnumber them. The orcs might go, we're not that loyal to our leaders. These guys are pretty tough. They might be more up to take a bribe. And how cool if you could evade a fight by just bribing the enemy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are things. When's the last time you heard about somebody bribing the enemies or something? No. So yeah, size matters. Ha ha ha. How big is the monster of the group of demi-humans in relation to the PCs? If the party is heavily outnumbered, there's more chance of attacking, or at least it makes the bad guys react from perceived strength. So yeah, if the orcs outnumber the party 3-1, they might come up and stick their chest out and go, you need to give us that cool looking sword or whatever. And the party's like, nah, I ain't giving up my magic sword or whatever. But so they might be more apt to be like, we want loot, we want food, and or whatever. This is an online game. It doesn't have your level or the dragon's level over your heads. Diplomacy should be an option unless it's a mindless animal or undead. The dragon knows he's a badass, but why fight if he doesn't have to? Also, you feel better about throwing inappropriate monsters levels against the players. If they attack everything they meet, this may break them of it. So what do the monsters bad guys want? Money, a simple bribe may suffice. Food, even mindless beasts might be appeased with food. Yeah, saying, mindless beast might be appeased with food. So, or even not mindless, some orcs have been out in the countryside and they've been having some tough luck of it. Some good provisions might just bribe them too. They may want information, the local area, other parts of a dungeon you're currently in. They may want to party, chill, come meet our leader. They'll say, let's arm wrestle, duel. It's such kind of like when we met the orcs and you end up talking to them and we end up gambling with them and drinking their orc beer and partying down with them. That was pretty cool. Team up. We can't beat the dragon alone. Help us and we can split the loot, or there might be some task beyond their skills, magic doors, complex locks, etc. So say you're in the dungeon, you come across some lizard men and they're like, we keep getting, our numbers are attacked by this troll or something down here. Team up with us to go fight the troll. How cool is that? We'll split the loot.
Which that was a pretty common trope back in the olden dungeons.
Yeah.
Where it's like the lizard men are over here and the orcs are over there and they hate each other and they fight. So if you manage to take out one faction without pissing off the other one, you could have a good friend.
Yeah, you're big damn heroes, or you could sometimes pit them against each other and you come up later on mop-up duty and, tee. Or even beyond outright attacking, they may tease the PCs, goad them, shame them, etc. Like I said, if they're coming from a place of strength, they might be like, lick my boots or whatever. Now, you would say the typical party go, well, those are fighting words and here we come. But at least there was some of that parlay beforehand or whatever. They goaded them or whatever, So anyway, what else would you add to that, sir?
I would add for the GM that if you constantly shut down your players trying to parlay, they will eventually stop trying. So that can be a GM problem as well. Or if you encourage it, maybe you have monsters try to talk their way out of things with the party sometimes instead of like, hey, before you murder us, like maybe some little goblins or kobolds where they're coming from the position of weakness and they're like, okay, look, you've got all these glowing weapons. We know we're going to get smoked. How about we give you some information and tell you how to get through this certain section and you let us go about our business?
Well, I got a little bit of an eye roll, but that one time when we were doing Adventures League or whatever, no, this is before Adventures League, or was it after? Anyway, at some point we were taking
At some point in time.
We were taking old Living Greyhawk modules and converting them into 5th edition. And this one had an encounter in the sewers with some kobolds, and some of them were sorcerers, and they took advantage of the terrain. And when I had them basically do a ceasefire, I kind of got an eye roll. But honestly, at that point, you guys were in pretty bad shape.
From who? Who was rolling their eyes at you?
But they were in pretty bad shape too. But you did stop and try to parlay, if you'll remember. Like, hey, you're in a bad shape. We're in bad shape.
We did or they did?
You parlayed. You playing your character parlayed with them as far as like the fight was going against y'all. But then again, y'all had annihilated them pretty tough too. You were like, we can keep fighting, whatever, or we can each take our wounded and go the other way. And so they said, all right, fair enough. And they took their wounded and the few that survived, and you collected your party, did some quick stabilization checks or whatever. Well, I remember TJ was down. Layla, the cleric, was down. I think Gary's sneaky monk was off somewhere, fighting some or whatever with Kung Fu. But I think they even put the hooly dooly on him too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty bad.
So there was no reason for them to parlay with us. That's where you got an eye roll, where it was like, now we can't even successfully TPK.
Well, I was going to say, they were in pretty bad shape. There was like, I think Gary taking out the sorcerers or something.
Okay, so there
Their
was
leadership.
one wounded ranger left, and however much they had.
Well, and the monk was still on his feet, as I remember. It was you and the monk. But my paladin was down, the cleric was down, and the wizard was down. So 3, but there was a monk that couldn't see that was coming out of nowhere, shadows and pow, 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 one shot him or whatever. And you were on it, tearing him up with that bow. But before TJ went down, he laid down that column of fire that literally killed like half of them instantly. So that's got to have some shock and awe factor there. Anyway.
So I won't give you an eye roll for parlaying, but I will give people eye rolls for, and suddenly the party gets to live. And it's like, really? But we've done that episode too, about how death has to play a role in RPGs.
Absolutely.
We've done it all now, folks.
Yep, exactly. If you're paying attention, we're covering all these important aspects of good gameplay and game mastering and gamesmanship or whatever.
How you can be an ambassador of gaming.
Yeah.
What we need to do is go back to like how to cleric, how to rogue. Mm-hmm. We've got those, but we actually have to do work for those.
But you know what? I'd love to do how to rogue. That would be good. Yeah. That'd be fun.
There are still ideas, but we have to work.
Yeah. So guys, if I think we've already done how to cleric.
No, we haven't. We've done how to wizard.
You're right. How to wizard
and fighters.
Did we do fighters?
Yeah. We did fighters.
I think we did. You're right. So. Yeah. So definitely, if there's another class you'd like us to go over, like clerics for dummies or how to cleric or whatever, or wizards or whatever, rogues, let us know.
And I think my suggestion for the topic was the GMing crisis. Where have all the 5th edition GMs gone?
But we touched on that recently, but it was a quick touch on. Yeah.
And then the other one will just be down the road when you have some time to think on it and listeners, feel free to chime in. What's your favorite trap you've run across?
Oh, yeah.
Or your favorite trap that you like to sprinkle into your dungeons? Doesn't matter how many doors or corridors, just traps.
When I was younger, I used a lot of traps. So I think find my players were like, dude, lighten up on the traps. But my thought is when it's an actual dungeon that's been sitting here for some century unopened or whatever,
it's trapped.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be traps. But sometimes some of the traps are rusted up or seized up, or they've already sprung and killed somebody or something. But sprinkle that in too, maybe, for the verisimilitude. But anyway, what are these strange noises we're hearing today?
All right. Well, with that, unless you have any last things you want to add in, I can tell by the clock on the wall we're all out of hit points.
Yeah.